The last phone call from the woods was a chilling 911 call made by a man who had been lost in the forest for 3 days. The man had run out of water and was starting to panic when he realized that his cell phone was dead. But just before that, he managed to make one last desperate call to 911, and what the operator heard on the other end was truly terrifying. It all started 3 days earlier when a hiker named Peter Lewis set out into the woods. Near his home in Washington State, Peter, an experienced outdoorsman, wasn't worried about getting lost. He knew these woods like the back of his hand. But as dusk began to settle and the temperature dropped, Peter realized that he was in trouble. He had no signal on his cell phone and he was starting to get scared. As the night wore on, Peter's fear turned to panic when he realized that he didn't have enough water to keep him hydrated through the night. But just as he was about to give up hope, he saw a faint light in the distance and stumbled towards it. It was a small cabin, and Peter was desperate to get inside. But as he approached, he heard a noise that made him freeze in his tracks. It was the sound of voices coming from inside the cabin. At first, he hesitated. He didn't know who was inside, or whether they were dangerous. But his need for help was greater than his fear. So he knocked on the door. A man opened the door, and Peter explained that he needed help. But the man just shook his head and closed the door in his face. Peter was devastated. But he didn't give up. He tried to make the man understand that he was lost and needed help. But the man just kept telling him to go away. Just when Peter thought things couldn't get any worse, the man threatened him, telling him that if he didn't leave, he would call the police and have him arrested for trespassing. Peter was stunned. He had only wanted help, but now he was being threatened with no other options. Peter left the cabin and headed back into the forest. He was exhausted and dehydrated, but he kept going, hoping to find another way out. As the sun began to rise, Peter stumbled upon a dirt road and followed it until he saw a car in the distance. He flagged down the car and explained that he needed help. The driver was a park ranger, and when he heard Peter's story, he immediately set out to find the cabin where the man had been refused help. The cabin was easy to find, and when the park ranger knocked on the door, the same man who had refused to help Peter answered. The park ranger explained that he had received a call about a missing person in the area, and he needed to ask the man some questions. The man agreed, and the park ranger soon discovered that he was the person of interest in the missing person's case. The man had come to the woods to escape the police, and he had been hiding in the cabin for several weeks. When the park ranger searched the cabin, he found evidence that the man had been living there for some time. There were clothes, food, and even a gun. The park ranger arrested the man without incident, and Peter was reunited with his wife and kids. Peter never forgot the chilling experience he had in the woods. He had been lost, scared, and desperate for help. But when he finally reached out to others, he was met with threats and danger. The last phone call from the woods was a reminder that sometimes the greatest danger can come from the people we don't know. Thanks for tuning in. If you're into spine-chilling stories like this, stick around for more. Before we go, I want to thank you for watching, and please don't forget to subscribe. Take care.